I think podcasts have a great, future in that they really can, what I would call super serve niches. So I think the niches are small, but they're really valuable. They're people that are passionate about a subject and they just want to consume more.
Welcome to the I Own It podcast with Ben Reinberg.
We're live from Ben Reinberg's I Own It studio today in Laguna Beach, and we have an incredible guest. We're kind of rolling into a little bit of business and entertainment today. Larry Namer, thank you so much for joining us. What a privilege to have you in studio today to come down from Los Angeles. I'm very grateful for you coming today.
Oh, it's fun to be here. Every once in a while, I like to get out of the house, so
great.
It's good.
I'm glad we could oblige. So you're an entertainment industry veteran, including a founder of E-Entertainment. Let's kick things off. I was hoping you could share more about your career and what projects you're focusing on these days.
Sure. I hate to admit it, but I'm now into my 50th year in the biz. Totally by accident. I graduated college with a degree in economics and couldn't find a job, so I ended up getting something at a cable company when nobody knew what cable was, and they gave me a job for $90 a week splicing cables under the streets of New York, and I thought it would be a temporary job, and I still think it's temporary. So here I am 50 years later, still playing the game.
So what I'm so interested is, like, what inspired you to co-found the company that eventually became E-Entertainment?
Sure. I in Manhattan, I started underground as a splicer, and the company got bought by Time Incorporated, and they wanted to transform from being a publishing company to a media company. So I was really fortunate to be one of the early people in what was then known as the Video Group, and I kind of grew up in that business there. While they were growing, I was growing, and I eventually became the head of operations in Manhattan. I think I was 25 or something like that, and but I knew how to build underground. And then, kind of late 70s, early 80s, all the cities around the country decided they wanted to have cable. And there was a company that won the franchise for Los Angeles, but the caveat was it had to be built underground. Well, I was the only person around that knew how to build underground. So I ended up getting recruited to come and build that system. I think I had just turned 31. And, they essentially gave me a bank credit for $400 million and said, here's the franchise, build it. But if you're a Brooklyn kid, you come out to LA, everybody's in the entertainment business, and I see all my neighbors going to parties and premieres and stuff like that. And at that time, I built the first 61 channel cable system ever built, but there weren't 61 channels out there. So I had character generators. I had the school lunch channel, the Lost Pet channel, the city government channel, and I called up the studios and said, hey, how do I get on the list to go to those parties and premieres? And they went, oh, you're in the utility business, you can't come. And I said, well, listen, the only time I ever see a movie trailer is when I'm already in the movies. Wouldn't you rather me see it at home to make me want to go to the movies? And they said, yeah, but we can't afford it. I said, tell you what we'll do. I said, I'll put it on a channel, but you got to invite me to all those things. And they were more than happy to do so. So I put it on, and we didn't even give it a name. I think we just called it the Trailer Channel or something like that. And we started doing surveys of subscribers. What's your favorite channel? Oh, I love CNN, I love ESPN, I love that Trailer Channel. I'm going, wait a second. I get the best 2 minutes of a $50 million movie for free. And at that time, MTV was just taking off. And I said, if they could stand a host in front of a green screen and go, and Madonna has a new video, I could stand a host in front of a green screen and say, and Schwarzenegger has a new movie. So I kind of put that in the back of my head. And then the company that I had worked for was Canadian, and they sold out. And they wanted me to come to Toronto. And I said, whoa. I didn't go from Brooklyn to LA to go live in the cold again. I'm staying here. So my friend Alan and Alan kept playing around with this idea called, Entertainment Tonight, 24 hours a day. And I said, wait a second, if we get those trailers and stuff. So we just wrote a plan and thought that people would give us money. We were pretty naive.
Was there a gap in the market, or was it just you guys had a vision, said, we like entertainment, we want to expand on this? Or did you do a study and say there's a real gap in the market that people want this?
No, I'm actually an anti-studying kind of thing. I like to go on my gut, especially when you're dealing with something that doesn't exist. And you just ask people, you go, well, just imagine. That's it. You lost them. They can't imagine.
Right.
So you go with your gut. But it was, MTV was, the music, really made the music business. But the only time, you would see a lot in-depth stories about film and television and stuff, it almost didn't exist. The companies would fight for 15 seconds on Entertainment Tonight. And we just said, what if we just do Entertainment Tonight 24 hours a day and kind of open it up for people who like, any genre of films or foreign films and, wanted to know more of the gossip and stuff like that. So we knew we were on the right track, but we didn't realize how hard it was to raise money. So
how did you get it rolling? Like, obviously you have to capitalize it. It's a risky endeavor. You got to sell it into someone to become an investor. How did that come about? Yeah, we wrote the plan, and at that time it cost somewhere between 60 and 100 million US to start a TV network. After 3.5 years of not raising 10 cents, we realized nobody was giving us $60 million. But somebody introduced us to a company on Wall Street that used to be a bond company, and they just started investment banking, and they set up an appointment for us to go in, and we went in and there was a young guy who just got the job, and we go in his office and he's got movie posters on the wall, and he goes, oh, I used to be the entertainment reporter for my college newspaper. He goes, I love this, come by, this afternoon we'll sign the papers, we'll give you money. And I'm like, that's great, can you make it more like the 100 million? And he goes, oh, no, I'm only allowed to sign for 2.5. And I go, well, what am I supposed to do with 2.5 million? It's like minimum 60, more like 100. And he goes, that's all I can sign for. So Al and I just looked at each other and said, you know what, after 3.5 years, we're going to figure it out. So we literally took the 2.5 million, and I had a friend teaching radio, television, film in Austin, Texas. Mm-hmm. And I called him up and said, you got kids that need intern jobs? And he said, yeah, we got a lot. So he actually sent me 31 interns from Texas. And so he actually started with 11 employees and 31 interns. Wow. What was the first big show that got launched on ETV? Talk Soup. Okay. Greg Kinnear, and, Greg has obviously gone on to huge, bigger and better things. And, it was a simple formula. We didn't have a lot of money, so we had to be really creative. So we said, we'll have Greg just watch clips of TV shows and make fun of them. And it was interesting because when it started, he had trouble reading teleprompter, and we didn't have enough money to stop and retape them, so we just kept going, and we started getting letters from girls all over the world going, oh, he's so cute when he makes a mistake and he rolls his eyebrows, we love him. And I get 25 letters, and then next week I get 50 letters, and then it blew up. And you just look at the people that have followed Greg on Talk Soup. I mean, it's just 15 or 16 people who went on to major careers. So that was a good one. So you're big in the Far East, and there's tensions between U.S. and China have been ratcheting up over the past few years, and impact on trade threatening to extend beyond military sensitive areas. Has that been challenging to any of your Chinese projects you have? Actually, no. I mean, there's a big difference between the battle between governments and the feelings of people. My company in China, we're non-political. I mean, we don't get involved in that in any way. I mean, we try and be nothing but entertaining and stuff. So we've had a great relationship there. We've really never had any government issues to worry about. We continue. We do film and we do television. We do a lot of stuff on behalf of brands. And now the big thing we're doing here in the U.S., you've seen this immersive entertainment, immersive Van Gogh and Klimt and all of those. We're actually bringing those into China now. Oh, great. So I'm curious what you think about cultural entertainment preferences, given how much your career has focused outside the U.S. What do you think about what's different versus what's the same?
If we talk about China, our first big hit in China was called Hello Hollywood, or Hello Hollywood, as they like to say it. And it was really kind of, if you're taking news, but you tailor it to Chinese preferences, they were looking much softer and gentler. Here in the U.S., it's kind of become TMZ. Let's find someone cheating on their spouse and let's expose them and, ruin their life forever. In China, it's much more gentle. They want to know, like, when we interviewed Tom Cruise, if we interviewed him here, they would tell us about Scientology. In China, they go, what are you doing with your kids on the weekend? So it's... there's much more family stuff. I mean, there's a reverence for older folks there, which is kind of nice and sweet. And they're not into the heavy-duty gossip yet. They might get there, but they're not there yet.
So they're not as westernized in what we do, and they're more about the culture, the family culture, not about let's produce gossip. This is what sells. It's more about real authentic about the person.
Yeah, and there's a great interest in, they don't want to, it's an interesting market because when I was doing a lot of stuff in Russia, people either wanted to be like us or come here and live here and stuff like that. Chinese are very different. They want to know about us. They want to understand our culture and our history and all that, but they don't necessarily want to marry an American or move to America. Chinese people are happy to be Chinese.
So I imagine a great story is a great story no matter what. But there are 1,000 things that have to break right to make a successful place of a highly produced entertainment. Do you agree with that? And help break down the art and science of successful TV and movies.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, when I was doing stuff in Russia, I actually decided they were reading too much Dostoevsky and stuff, so they needed soap operas. So we actually had the #1 TV show in Russia 5 days a week for 10 years in Russian. In China, it was actually interesting for me because while people think that your creative visions are curtailed by the Chinese government, they're really not. I get to do a lot more stuff in China than I get to do in the U.S. And, a lot of people ask me, they say, well, what's your greatest success? And they expect me to say E, which financially certainly was. But I decided that, I would learn how to write comedy. So I wrote a comedy about the contradictions of modern Chinese life. And we ended up getting it on the air. And it went 72 episodes. I had to stop because I just said, I can't be funny for more than 72. But the irony is that the Asia TV Awards, that show was the only comedy from China nominated. So, again, when you think about it, the funniest TV show in China is written by a New York Jew, which probably isn't, that far-fetched when you think about it. But... to me, writing a comedy that I've never written comedy before in a language I don't speak, for a culture I didn't grow up in, that was a challenge. E, of course, great, and we executed it, really well looking back. But, figuring out that people like Hollywood gossip was not rocket science, really.
Oh, that's fantastic. So one of your value props for your consulting company, LJN Media, is to provide a fresh set of eyes. That intrigued me when I saw that. What areas does a fresh set of eyes tend to offer the most value?
We don't really look to the past. I mean, for whatever reason, we have this reputation of always kind of being out in front of things. I mean, now... we're very heavily into immersive entertainment. I mean, we're bringing lots of stuff into China, and we're looking at holograms for, educational video purposes. Well, probably the biggest thing we're doing right now, looking to the future, is really dealing with the whole world of Web3 and Metaverse and NFTs. As a matter of fact, in June 14th, out of Las Vegas, we're producing what's called the NFT Awards, which is celebrating, all the great achievements made there. People confuse crypto and NFTs and blockchain and stuff like that, and they're really quite different. And there's amazing things that you're seeing happen in the NFT world and the metaverse world that kind of get overshadowed by the crypto scandals with Sam Bankman-Fried and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that makes us different. We don't bring a lot of tradition. We don't bring a lot of history. We look at projects from the day it pops in our head, and really don't try and make it like something. We try and think of where it might be in 3 years. So
where do the issues and the blind spots occur that you see?
Well, when you deal with big companies, I mean, most of the big media companies are public companies now, and they operate on a quarterly basis, which is fairly unique to the Western world as opposed to the Asian world. You got to produce results every 3 months, otherwise you get booted and you got to go look for a job. So people think much shorter term. What I like about Asia is people think longer term. I mean, thinking of how you develop things over a 5-10 year period is more common than not. And it really is a shame because it really stifles creativity. So people tend to play it safe. When I go and pitch an idea in the U.S., they go, well, what's it like? And I'm going, no, it's unique and original. It's not like anything. And, there's just this hesitancy to try stuff because if you fail, you're fired. And, people play it safe. So you don't get a lot of originality here. Although I got to say that with the streamers, if anything good came out of COVID, it was the recognition of not just Netflix, which then, led to Prime and Disney Plus and, Paramount Plus and all of those. It really has opened up a lot for creative people to really do stuff now that they never had a chance to do.
So it sounds like the Chinese are more patient than us when it comes to entertainment. They want to see it develop, evolve. They're willing to give you a little bit more of lead time to see it create success.
Yeah. With our comedy, the one that went 72 years, if it was in the U.S., we probably would have got pulled after the first week. But they let it develop, and we got to develop the characters, and people got to know them. And like I say, you're starting to see that a lot in U.S. television, particularly with the streamers and, HBO. I think they just decided to change the name to something else. But the ability to create stuff over a series takes ideas that might have at one point you just thought of them as like this could be a 90-minute or 2-hour movie, and you never really got great character development. Now you look at some of the stuff coming out of stream, I'm amazed. People keep telling me that television's over, and I'm going, what are you kidding? It's never been better. I don't remember having so much great stuff to watch ever, really.
Are there emerging markets outside the U.S. you're looking at besides China?
Yeah, well, you got to look at India just because of the size. I mean, one of the great things about China is even when I do something bad, I get 50 million viewers. And you tell a Western marketer that you can deliver 50 million eyeballs and you get advertisers. So I think India you certainly have to look at. But the market that intrigues me the most now, it's kind of Southeast Asia, Vietnam. It's like an amazing place now. I mean, for somebody who came out of the Vietnam War era, I'm just astounded what's happened to that place. I mean, it's just booming.
So I believe you're involved as a creative on a few projects over the years, but mostly on the business side. Personally for you, what's been your most meaningful creative projects, and how do you express your creativity these days?
It's funny that I always get pigeonholed. My degree is in economics, so I'm a weird creative who knows how to read a balance sheet. And I spent 2 years as a primary consultant at Microsoft for TV strategy or media strategy. So, I've kind of got the economic side, I've got the creative side, and, the technology side, which makes me pretty unusual in town. And I always think of myself as a creative. But I kind of get pigeonholed by investors. They go, well, you understand the business, so you run that side. I think I created this series in China, this comedy series called Return to the Village of Good Fortune. Mm-hmm. And that was great because I really got to stretch myself. And I've done stuff in Russia and Yeah, but here, I mean, Talk Soup and Howard Stern and the Hollywood True Story, those did pretty well. I think Talk Soup ran 26 years, so.
Explain to everyone the story behind Howard Stern, because that was really cutting edge stuff. You really came up with this incredible concept and said, let's try it. Like, how did that come about? And explain to everyone, like, what the concept was and why it was so successful.
Well, Alan Marufka, my partner, and I, we met this tall radio person in New York, and he invited us to look at his show. And I went back and told the team that I wanted to investigate turning it into a TV show. And they all thought I was crazy to begin with, because when we came up with Talk Soup, they went, wait a second, you want to do a TV show that makes fun of TV shows? And I was going, yeah, exactly. But then I said, I want to put cameras in this radio studio. And they were going, Larry, radio's been dead for 40 years. What are you thinking? And I said, you just don't get it. There was this TV show called WKRP in Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. This is WKRP in real life. And, we were right, and people were fascinated with Howard. And obviously he's gone on to do amazing stuff, and.
But it was probably more advantageous because he had such a big listenership at that time.
At that time, he was pretty much restricted to New York. I mean, he was not really out there. But we just knew that what Howard did would be welcomed anywhere and stuff. So it was a way of expanding his audience and stuff. So it worked for him and it worked for us.
Well, that's fantastic. So the economics of the movie industry is changing rapidly. And with cord cutting, streaming wars, superhero movies, movie theaters going under, we see, especially in commercial real estate, I've seen a lot of movie theater chains go under. How do you see the world of entertainment evolving, and any big predictions you have that what the entertainment industry might look like in 10 years from now?
Well, I think you're not going to see movie theaters go away. I think the days of the 16 screen are probably pretty limited. Uh-huh. With COVID, I just think of the way I consume media. So it used to be like Friday afternoon, I had nothing to do. I'd say I feel like going to the movies. I didn't have a specific movie, but I feel like going to the movies. And I'd look and go, okay, that looks good, and I would go. No more. I mean, I'm not just going to the movies. If it's a big Marvel movie or a Star Wars or something like that, yeah, I want to see it in the movie theater. But I'm now just for big movies. Because now with the stream, I mean, I have, literally every one of those streams out there and stuff. And I can't watch all the good stuff that's on there. So I think you see the continuance of streamers. You'll see some consolidation. There's a little too much out there. And movie theaters will continue, and it'll be big blockbusters. But again, as a creative, when you look at the form of what you're capable of doing, I bought the rights to a book a few years ago, pre-COVID, called Empress. It's about the first woman ruler of China. And I was going, okay, I'm making a movie. And I brought in Ron Bass, who won the Academy Award for Rain Man and Joy Luck Club, and he wrote the screenplay. And, we went over it for like 3.5 years because it never really got it to the point where you understood her. And, the Empress was the only woman ever to rule China. She was 14 years old, was taken as a concubine. And, the story goes until she's 72. So you never really could develop the characters in, a 2-hour movie. But now with the form of doing these miniseries, these 10-episode things, so we've converted it. Now we're rewriting the whole thing and, to be something that will present to Netflix and Amazon and, those folks there, because now the characters are really deep and rich. And, so that form lets us do something that we could never do in a 2-hour theatrical.
How does everyone survive? There is so much information to consume now between the podcast you're sitting on now, YouTube, social media, streaming, regular television, movies. How does everyone coexist? How does it continue to survive? Because we're being consumed by so much. There's more entrepreneurs out there. More people are working longer hours, traveling. How can people consume all this information?
Well, I think if you start, I think podcasts have a great, future in that they really can, what I would call super serve niches. So I think the niches are small, but they're really valuable. They're people that are passionate about a subject and they just want to consume more. And they don't just want the fluffy stuff. They want like authentic detail and whatever. And I think advertisers, the money that flows in, brand sponsors or whatever, look for that. I think the days of, just having 20 million followers, they realized that 20 million didn't do anything. They just clicked yes.
That's right.
So people are looking for engagement. They're looking for people that are passionate about a subject and stuff. So you continue to see money there. And it's going to shake out. Now, everybody woke up in the morning and said, hey, podcast, great, I'll do one. They got to be good. They have to have a niche. They have to, like I say, super serve an audience. And then you get to the streamers and stuff, and there's going to be some shakeout. I mean, you already saw, I think it was today, they announced the combining of Discovery with the HBO Max and the Warner things. So they'll consolidate because you can't have as many as you had. You can't watch all the stuff that's on there. Then it comes down to marketing. But you look at some of the stuff coming out there. I just watched on Prime Daisy Jones and the Six, and I've done some good stuff, but I watched that and I go, oh my God, this is amazing. I said the level of writing. I had to watch it twice because there was so much stuff that I missed there, and now Daisy Jones and the Six is becoming a real band, and they're going to go on tour and stuff like that. So you build businesses out of this stuff. It's not just about being on television. It's about the businesses that you could attach to it.
That you can create with it. You've been in business for a long time, and you could probably share a lot of great knowledge. What have been some of the biggest lessons you've learned over the past 5 decades that you can share with people? What's gone on with your career that you could look back and be like, man, if I would have changed that, or I learned, because we all fail in business and you fail forward, and you've been wildly successful. Share a few stories of like where you saw some struggles that you could share.
Well, probably the biggest one I missed. I was part of a group when the internet heyday and everybody was like looking at domain names and stuff. I was part of a group. We owned the domain name television.com. Good domain name. And somebody offered us like $6 million for it. And, I'm going, wait a second, do I look really dumb? Look at his face, I'm not dumb. If, broadcast.com was $20 million, television.com is worth more than that. And we didn't sell it. And we decided we would launch it. So we launched it. It was one of the first streaming video sites. But at that time, technology was only 6 frames a second. So people kind of move like this.
Right.
But people were intrigued with it. We did no marketing, and we were getting like 1 million viewers a month. But when we launched it, advertising was $25 per 1,000. And then the market crashed. And everybody was dumping inventory, into the market. And the price for advertising went down to 25 cents. And it cost us more to service someone than the 25 cents. So the more people that watched it, the more money we lost. And we couldn't figure out how to get out of that box. So, you learn that, A, you're not as smart as you think you are, or the press tells you are, and B, you got to prepare for changes in the environment or regulatory environment or something like that. I mean, now you just look at what's going on with TikTok and, the move to outlaw TikTok because of I don't know what. But, there are investors in TikTok, and, and it obviously has done quite well, but what's going to happen if it gets outlawed?
Have you gone through your career and ever kind of Monday morning quarterback yourself and looked at some of the talent that you were going to bring into e-television? And you're like, nah, that guy's not ready. That woman's not ready. And they've gone on to bigger and better things. Is there any stories where you could look at some of the folks out there and share?
Oh, God, yeah. I missed a bunch. Probably starting with, Alan, my partner, was friends with this gal that was like training Laker cheerleaders and stuff like that. And he's going, Larry Paula wants a guest host. And I'm like, really? Do we have to put her on? And he's like, yeah, I'm telling you, she's got an album coming out and stuff like that. And, we had 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we made a lot of, moves just because we had to fill space.
Right.
And, I went, yeah, sure, if it's a favor to Paula, go ahead. And, Paula was Paula Abdul. And certainly went on to do a lot bigger and better stuff than guest hosting for us. But I missed that. And, this other kid, Ryan, who kept telling me he could host. And I'm like, you're a nice boy. Maybe you should be thinking of accounting. Ryan Seacrest certainly has gone on to do well. So, missed a few, but had a few that I didn't miss, which made up for it.
Who are some of the bigger names you brought in and said, see, I told you, I knew that was going to be a hit?
Greg Kinnear,
okay.
Howard Stern, obviously. You just look at all the people that have hosted Talk Soup and stuff. I think like 17 or
John
something.
John Henson, all these great names.
They all went on to Katie Wagner and Julie Moran went on to be the first woman to host Wide World of Sports. So we had a lot of good ones. The Kardashians probably have been one of the better ones.
I think that was a good call by you. I agree. What do you love most about being in the entertainment business?
Different every day.
Yeah.
Challenging every day. You're only as good as the last thing you've done, so you got to be like really on your toes and be good. And I love the challenge of doing stuff, not just for U.S. audiences. Although now with COVID, I'm doing a lot more here again, but more in the I call it the social good areas and stuff. I'm doing a series now on called Conscious Parenting, which is all about really trying to be a parent in this new environment that we're all in. And, it's really different than being a parent 25 or 30 years ago. I mean, it's tough.
It sure is. Yeah, with social media and monitoring where the kids are looking and the distractions.
School shootings and bullying and gender ID issues and stuff like that. And the one thing I've learned, my older ones are, in their 30s now, is you never really stop being a parent. When you keep saying, I can't wait till they're old enough to go to college and out of the house, doesn't make a difference. You're the parent forever.
That's right. No, I've said that. I'm like, when are the kids cut off? And someone said, kids are never cut off. You're always attached to what's going on with social media. So anything else you're most excited about professionally today?
Well, I love NFT and blockchain. I love all this new stuff. And it doesn't replace what was. It becomes part of the fabric.
Okay.
It's part of the equation. It's not the total equation. So you're always going to have, this hybrid kind of financing and things like that. But for the creative community, when they really understand NFTs and blockchain and what it is, and it's really simple when you talk to an artist and let's say you painted something and you sell it to me for $100. You're happy you got $100, but now I sell it to my friend for $1,000. You're sitting there going, wait, I created that and he made all the money. And then he sells it to the Getty Museum for $1 million. And I'm sitting there going, okay, I was the first one to recognize and buy it. And now he made all the money. But as the artist, you're still sitting there with your $100. Mm. In the NFT world and blockchain, you stay with the revenue stream. So that every time it changes hands, you're getting 10% automatically dropped into your bank account and stuff like that. So as a creative, how could you not like it? Once you understand it, you become, sure, of course I want that. So it's inevitable that it's going to be part of the way we do business. I mean, you're going to have real stuff, you're going to have digital stuff, you're going to have combinations and stuff like that. It's just going to be different. It's going to be a different world, and people have to get used to it. So,
as you get older, you probably slow down a little bit, but it seems like you just keep going. What's a typical day like for you now, and how do you keep that flame burning in you to keep going?
Number one, I realized that I hate golf and I never want to learn how to play. I just wake up every morning with 10 new ideas, and usually by the time I go to sleep, I realize most of them were pretty dopey. Every once in a while, I have a good one. So I just have always been about what's next as opposed to what was and stuff like that. And I love inventing new stuff and getting into new businesses and stimulate. I probably read 50 magazines a month.
Wow.
About weird stuff. I mean, I know how to crochet and knit and saying maybe I have to do a TV show one day about, learning how to crochet. So just this thirst for knowledge and stuff. My parents were immigrants, and their view, their wish for their kids was to have a better life than they had and stuff. So they really pushed. I was the first kid to go to college in the family. So there was a real push to always learn and be doing stuff. So.
What do you like doing outside the entertainment business? Like, what floats your boat?
Cooking.
Cooking? Really?
Yeah, since I'm 12, I'm a wannabe chef.
What do you cook?
You name it, I could cook it.
Really?
When I was in college, I ended up getting a job in delivery in a Chinese restaurant. And I love cooking, so I would always ask them, teach me how to make this and teach me how to make that, and they did it. And then I ended up cooking in a Chinese restaurant, and then I cooked in an Italian restaurant. But even now, I buy a cookbook every month. Amazon loves me. And I literally, I'll cook the book.
Oh, wow.
So I could cook just about anything, and I'm good. I'm pretty good.
I would think so. What's one of your go-tos? Like, where do you lean in on a meal?
People are amazed that I could cook Chinese as probably as good as any Chinese person. I actually had a TV show in China, 4 episodes of me cooking Chinese food, which was kind of
so if I came over, like, what does a meal look like for you? Like, what are you making?
Oh, Chinese soup. Usually like an egg drop soup, but I drop some wontons in it.
Wow.
Real egg rolls, like New York egg rolls.
Oh, man.
Spare ribs, really red ones.
Wow.
Shrimp and lobster sauce, fried rice.
My God.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So it's just more than entertainment. It's cooking. Anything else you're doing besides cooking?
Go to the gym.
Okay.
If you're going to be as crazy and active as I am, you have to have stamina. So
Absolutely.
I do an hour in the gym literally every day. Probably I like to eat more than I should. So if I don't go to the gym, I'll probably be twice the size. But yeah, between cooking and working out, for me, it's therapy. Instead of, I've never had to go and lay on the couch. Instead of doing that, I go in the kitchen or I go to the gym, and I kind of get lost in the experience, and it's just no matter what happened that day, it disappears, at least for that hour or two.
So the name of the show is I Own It. And what's behind it is, besides I own commercial real estate around the United States, my company does, it's owning every aspect of your life, and why we wanted you on the show, because you own it. And it's owning your behavior, your actions, how you treat people, etc. Can you look back in a recent example and say, I didn't own it fully, that you could share?
Yeah, I was helping some friends start I didn't want to start a media platform, content and communications platform really geared at the LGBTQI community or the fringes of it. Like the boys who wear makeup. It's a lot of my friends out of the fashion business in New York and stuff like that. And I kind of took too much of a laid-back advisory role, and I should have been much more demanding, and it kind of went sideways and stuff, and never became what it should have become. So yeah, I should have owned it, but I didn't.
So his lesson is focus, be present, and really be committed to something you're working on?
Yeah, and not do it half-assed.
Okay.
It's, if you're going to do it, do it.
That's great. What's the best way for our audience and everyone out there listening to engage with you and follow you and see all the wonderful things you do in the entertainment business?
I'm on most social media. I've got Twitters and Instagrams and even TikToks and stuff like that. But if you go to my Facebook, I actually do my Facebook myself.
Oh, wow.
Most people call it.
You're better than me. I have a whole staff that does that.
My staff does all the other ones, but I do Facebook, and it's basically a cooking blog.
Oh, cool. I'll have to log on
every
and see
once in
that.
a while, I'll throw in some other stuff, but it's a lot of what I cooked that night.
Oh, that's great. I will definitely check that out. So we're going to wrap up with our 3 questions. I've been waiting for you to come down. So over here, we generally do have a couch. And I would say, Larry, lay down. This would be your first time laying down. I would say, close your eyes. You are now, how old are you now?
Oh, God, 74.
Oh, my God. You look amazing for 74. So congrats. So you're 74 years old. If you can go back, and I say, Larry, close your eyes. You're on the couch. You have a tremendous amount of experience and success in the entertainment business, mentoring others, coaching others, successful entrepreneur. There's so many accomplishments you've had in your career to date. And go back to when you were 16, which is a long time ago. If today you can give yourself advice when you're 16, what advice would you share with yourself to help yourself at that age?
If I look back, I should have paid more attention to personal relationships and stuff. I mean, I had a few failed marriages and stuff. And looking back, they were my fault. I didn't think so then, but I look back and go, you know what, I should have been better. And not paying the attention to the kids when they're spending too much time on business and not realizing that you really can't miss or shouldn't miss, a lot of things the kids are doing. So I think if I had to do it again, it's really finding more balance to life and stuff. It's not all about work and it's not all about family. There's something in between.
What are you doing today to kind of keep your mental state stable and balanced? I
have a great relationship with the kids. My kids are older now.
Okay.
And I'm fortunate that I'm at the point where I have enough time. I have the time for both. I'm not looking, going, okay, how do I make $1 zillion and stuff like that. Thank God we're fortunate enough. So I spend a lot more time with the family. Marriage relationships, not so much. I've been single now for 20 years almost, and stuff, and no complaints. But that side of my life I haven't quite figured out yet.
It's our last day on Earth. God forbid. It's just me and you. It's our last meal together. What are we eating and what are we drinking? It's your choice. And especially now that you're a cook, this is going to be really good.
Peking duck.
Oh, baby.
Peking duck and a beer, a Qingdao beer.
Wow. I like that. Great answer. So in our studio, we have grand piano, drum set, and electric guitars. If you could have any musician or band walk through that door with us and come in and play us a song, they could be living or deceased, anyone, who's coming in studio with us right now and playing us a song, and what song are they playing us? Your choice.
Probably Bob Dylan.
Okay.
I'm still a big Dylan fan. Although sometimes I forget, but then I hear something like, his duet with Johnny Cash and stuff like that. And it's just amazing stuff. But probably that. And, Woman from the North Country, Girl from the North Country, or, any of those, Lay Lady Lay.
Wow. Great answer. Love that. Thank you so much for joining us today, Larry Namer. What a pleasure to have you here. This is a real treat for us and everyone out there to hear your story. And if you're not inspired by someone that can start a channel like E and the business he's developed, you'll understand. If you're not an entrepreneur, when you get there, you'll understand the significance behind Larry. So thank you so much for joining and sharing your story. We appreciate it. If you are interested in listening to more episodes like this, feel free to drop kick that subscribe button on YouTube, because we're going to let this one go viral. Feel free to click that like button as much as possible so we can share this content that Larry just dropped on everyone all over the world. To follow me, feel free to log on to benreinberg.com. You can follow me on all different social media platforms. If you're interested in commercial real estate and learning about commercial real estate investing, feel free to log on to my company's website, alliancecgc.com. We are the leaders in commercial real estate in the United States. If you are looking to invest passively in commercial real estate, feel free to go on and check out our brand new fund, the Alliance Medical Property Fund. It is the hottest fund in the United States right now. Larry Namer, thank you so much for joining us on the I Own It show, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the I Own It podcast with Ben Reinberg. To hear our past episodes and connect with Ben, visit benreinberg.com.